49ers have been slowly building a championship defense for years. This season, that defense has arrived and is obliterating the entire league. The unit is top 3 in just about every major statistical category, and when at full strength, have dominated every team they've faced. After struggling during the tail end of the season, the gang has gotten healthy and welcomed back their key assets linebacker Kwon Alexander, safety Jaquaski Tartt, and pass rusher D Ford. This allowed the team to operate at peak capacity and re-establish the philosophy they've been using all season, which is formed by 3 crucial elements: design and disguise, front 4 firepower, and positional versatility. As the playoffs began, they were able to recreate this formula and utterly dominate. What's funny about this 2019 season is the number of Shanahan mini-me's the 49ers have faced. Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur twice, Zach Taylor, and this Kevin Stefanski, Gary Kubiak love child that they completely dismantled. At the core of this offensive system is the outside zone run paired with the play-action naked bootleg. If you want a deeper explanation of specifically the Vikings outside zone, I'll link my Dalvin Cook video from last week down below. The key difference between those teams and Shanahan is flexibility within that common scheme. Shanahan can easily adjust if the outside zone is taken away. He runs counter, trap, pin and pull, and more. The Viking scheme doesn't have the same depth. They are paralyzed if you're able to stop their outside zone and naked bootleg play-action combination. Let's go through a quick refresher of what outside zone is and then naked so we understand what the 49ers are trying to stop and how they undressed it. Outside zone has each offensive lineman take a bucket step towards the sideline to try and create lateral movement from the defense to slow upfield penetration and form cutback lanes for the running back. Once the offense rips off a couple of big plays on the ground, here comes the naked bootleg. A key aspect of outside zone is the backside defensive end, who is usually left unblocked by the offensive line. Shanahan and his legion of disciples will often take the tight end away from the play side and use a sift or slide action to take out that defensive end whose job is to seal off the cutback lanes. This pairs well with the play action. After the defensive end has had his leg charred a few times by that tight end, he'll try and jump around him, leaving the flat wide open. The play is called naked because the quarterback rolls out naked with no blockers. However, if the defensive end identifies play action, the play is dead on arrival. When the 49ers discovered tendencies, they designed game plans tailored to the opposing offense. They ran a lot of 4-4 stack, which is 4 down linemen and 4 second-level defenders. They wanted to clog up the run game with 8-man boxes and rely on play design to stop the naked boot. They knew they had to account for the tight end sifting across the formation, so they made an adjustment that allowed them to correctly fit the run and cover the flat. Instead of defensive end Eric Armstead chasing the run backside, he runs straight up the field to attack quarterback Kirk Cousins no matter what. Safety Jimmy Ward fills the C gap using a technique called counter, cutback, and reverse, which essentially fills Armstead's usual assignment. Usually, Kwon Alexander needs to fit a gap play side to stop the run, but part of the adjustment was to leave him for the sift slide action. He barely moves when this play begins to the left. Instead, he waits and watches the tight end run quickly across the formation. By the time Cousins snaps his eyes around, Armstead is all over him. Every defense has a hole and there are no perfect coverages. This strategy left the linebacker susceptible to the number 2 option tight end Kyle Rudolph on the over route, but it was a good gamble knowing Armstead will smoke Cousins quick enough that he can't read past the number 1 option. After the Vikings realized their base run and play-action designs weren't going to work, they immediately shifted to different run concepts, which for the 49ers was a win in itself. If you can force the Vikings to get away from their 2 favorite plays, they aren't schematically developed enough to succeed with different options. They're running a variation of the dagger concept off of play-action. This is a staple concept to attack the 49ers cover 3 zone match defense, where the crossing route will try to pull a hook linebacker out of his zone so the dig can run towards that hole. The play action tries to draw in the defenders. When playing zone coverage, their eyes are all on the quarterback. The Vikings know, the 49ers know, that dagger works well against their defense. So instead of wide receiver Stephon Diggs running a dig route, he'll run a double move, which actually fools Richard Sherman pretty darn bad. He sees the crossing route and is an expert at dissecting concepts, so he thinks he knows what's coming. Fortunately for him, the front 4 has his back. The 49ers neutralized the Vikings' outside zone run so quickly, the Vikings called concepts they weren't as comfortable running. Duo is a run concept that double teams the two defensive tackles to create lanes for the running back. Many teams use duo in their play action packages because it's blocked similarly whether it's pass or run. The Vikings hadn't run duo in this game, or really all year, and it wasn't effective whatsoever. Unfortunately for right tackle Brian O'Neill, this duo play action concept leaves him on an island one-on-one with Armstead, who lines up wide and outside in a wide 7 technique. O'Neill takes a huge step outside knowing he has to reach Armstead, which creates plenty of space inside to work with. Armstead starts at his upfield shoulder, then jumps back inside using a club move and strikes the inside shoulder. Since O'Neill is already setting so far outside, the club move doesn't need to be ultra effective for Armstead to get the inside track. Cousins looks at Diggs for a hot second, but senses pressure and looks to his checkdown, who is blanketed by Kwon Alexander, and Armstead eats him up. When the 49ers discover opponents' tendencies, they are excellent at creating disguises to make the quarterback's life miserable. The Vikings use pre-snap zone man indicators to tell Cousins what coverage the defense is most likely playing. They've done this all season. Here in Week 15 against the Chargers, they used 3-by-1 formations where they put 3 receivers on one side and a nub tight end on the other. Nub meaning he is by himself on that side and attached to the line of scrimmage. How the defense reacts tells Cousins what type of coverage the defense is in 99% of the time. If a cornerback is over the tight end, it's probably going to be zone coverage. And if a safety or linebacker is covering him, it tells Cousins it's usually man. Sometimes they'll put a tight end as that inside receiver on the 3 side, but when they put Stephon Diggs or Adam Thielen there, it's almost guaranteed they're running a form of dagger, which, as we said earlier, is a deep crossing route with a dig behind it. They want Stephon Diggs to take that linebacker out of his spot, and Thielen to cut in behind to that open area. When they're in this look, their nub tight end Kyle Rudolph will run a shallow cross into the space that the linebacker is vacated. The Vikings have run dagger with a shallow cross the entire season, and it was a concept the 49ers were ready for. On 3rd and 9, the Vikings trot out their 3-by-1 formation with Rudolph as the nub tight end and Diggs the inside receiver to the trip side. The 49ers use design, disguise, and positional flexibility to muddy Cousins' pre-snap read. They put cornerback Emmanuel Mosley on Rudolph to trick Cousins into thinking it's zone coverage, but have safety Jimmy Ward in a man look opposite Diggs. This doesn't give Cousins a coverage indicator one way or the other. The corners outside tell him zone, while Ward's tight alignment makes it look like man. The Vikings are running dagger, and the 49ers counter with cover 1 man with a deep safety, where dagger isn't quite as effective against man coverage. The 49ers showcase their positional versatility by aligning Mosley on Rudolph and Ward on Diggs. Cornerback on tight end and safety on receiver are usually huge mismatches that benefit the offense, but not for this defense. Ward plays the crossing route perfectly. He undercuts the route immediately because he knows exactly where his help is. He doesn't need to worry about Diggs burning him over the top because that's where Tartt is sitting. Slot cornerback K'Wan Williams does an incredible job pressing Thielen at the line and covering the dig route, so Cousins checks the ball down to Rudolph, forcing the Vikings to punt. The front 4 firepower is really the backbone of this team, and D Ford coming back healthy has allowed more flexibility from the defensive line. All 4 of these stud pass rushers, Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, Armstead, and Ford, can play inside or outside. When Ford bumps inside, he has a one-on-one matchup with the left guard Pat Elflein. The move of the day is the club or club rip. First it was Armstead, and now it's Ford, who uses his lightning quick speed to bolster the move. He aligns wide and outside from Elflein, who has to overset to meet him at that angle. Ford starts outside, then stutters inside to confuse Elflein, who shoots his hands to Ford's inside, but that's not where he's going. By placing his plant foot far enough inside, this sells his move in that direction and allows Ford to burst outside and use that club move. He strikes the outside shoulder, pushing Elflein inside and away from him. The guard manages to keep his left arm on Ford, so then comes the rip. He uses his arm and rips it straight into the air, kinda like a reverse karate chop. It's used to weaken Elflein's hold, allowing Ford to take the edge. Putting a classic edge rusher with speed on the inside is devastating for slower guards who aren't used to playing in that much space against that fast of a player. DeForest Buckner pretty much unlocked his bag of secrets and shared it with the rest of the line. Buckner's go-to move is that club move we keep seeing, and each pass rusher in the game used it flawlessly, so Buckner had to get in on the fun. Poor Elf line was absolutely abused all day. They put Buckner in the same exact spot to use the same exact move. Since he's not as quick or agile as Ford, he doesn't use the same stutter, but instead goes straight at the upfield shoulder of Elf line, who tries to set towards where Buckner is going. But Buckner clubs his shoulder so hard and so quickly, Elf line can't recover. Instead of the rip, Buckner uses the club arm over, which just means he brings that other arm over the lineman. Elf line actually manages to stand him up a bit, but he takes the edge too quickly and has a straight line shot where he makes Cousins rethink every decision he's ever made. The 49ers defense has everything you could possibly ask for. They have elite talent at every level and players who can play multiple positions and do multiple things. The safeties can play cornerback and linebacker, the linebackers can cover receivers and tight ends or blitz the passer. This is so frustrating for a quarterback. He has no idea what's really coming. If the coverage blows an assignment, the pass rush always makes up for it. That front four is right in your lap before you can say Kirk Cousins. With the defense's ability to design and disguise coverages, unleash their front four on a quarterback, and create positional versatility, the 49ers have built a championship defense. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. What a time for the 49ers and to cover this team. I want to thank those of you who have been here since the beginning of the year in week 1. I've done so many episodes on just about every part of this team, and it's been a blast to follow them this season. It's kind of funny making a few of these because the 49ers are playing so many Shanahan type offenses, and a lot of them base out of the same concepts he does, so I just try and keep it fresh and exciting. My content won't be slowing down when this season's over. You can still expect an episode every single Saturday, and I really want to thank my Patreon supporters for helping me make all of this possible, and appreciate everybody watching and leaving me comments. If you feel like these videos are helping your football IQ and want more, I put a lot of coverage and concept explanations on that Patreon page. Quality football information can be surprisingly hard to find, but I consolidate a lot of it on my page. So yeah, alright, that's about it. Until next Saturday, see ya!